Take a look at this guy right here, and you take a look at his gut. You're gonna see this is a good example of what I call a grass belly. But I talk about a grass gut, right? When these animals, when they get put on grass, I'm not exactly sure why it happens, but I figured that there's something going on with the grass, and the cattle. But when they eat grass, they swell up. They swell up a lot. That's the best way for me to put it, is that they just swell up. You can actually tell when you put the animals on grass. If they're eating a lot of grass, they're actually going to swell up. And these animals, they're not sitting up in the front waiting for food or anything, and so they're obviously going to the back and eating. And I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna take a look at them. And so this morning I actually cut the animals in the front loose too. I went ahead and I let them out, and the preconditioning calves, I let them out, and I put them on grass, and I'm gonna switch up their grain pellet to a lower protein, a higher roughage material preconditioner pellet. I had them on that. Just that 14% commodity mix that I've been feeding the cattle. But I'm gonna switch them up to a lower protein, higher roughage material, because what's happening? Two of the calves, they're having severe diarrhea, and you're gonna see. I figured that it's because they were probably on almost straight milk until they got to my farm. They were probably pulled off the mama cow and then directly taken to my farm, and so they're having diarrhea even when I give them a 14% preconditioner, or not a preconditioner pellet, but when I give them a 14% commodity mix that has plenty of roughage material in it, they're still having diarrhea. And so I'm actually going to switch them over, and I got them on grass now, right? I got them on grass, and the feed values of the grass are going to be even higher. And so I figured I'm going to put them all on a higher roughage material, lower protein preconditioner pellet. And so I changed up the diet for the small animals out front. I cut them loose, and you can take a look at the grass. I mean, I definitely got grass out here. I mean, this is more than enough for the cattle to eat. I would say that the grass is probably up to it's about the bottom of my ankle, and anytime that it gets anywhere up near my ankle, the grass is good. If it drops below my ankle, then I'll start increasing the amount of feed that the animals are getting. And, this morning I went ahead and I cut the animals loose. I let them out, and I'm also going to change up their diet. And two of the animals are having a pretty severe diarrhea, even though I'm giving them a 14% commodity mix with a lot of roughage material in it. They're still having acidosis, and so I'm actually going to when I put them on the grass, I'm going to put all of the animals on a lower protein, higher roughage material type preconditioner pellet. I'm going to supplement their feed. And so I figured this morning I would ask a question to see if just to see if you're actually keeping track of the information or whatever, just to make sure that we're all moving in the same direction. I know I haven't talked about this in about 3 months, but I've always talked about this. The information does not change, right? Just because I haven't spoken about this in 3 months does not mean that the information is now irrelevant, right? And so I figured the question that I would ask is Farmer Howard has taken a look at his field, and he has observed a substantial grass growth. And he has actually determined that the grass is now, at a certain point where he no longer has to feed a total mixed ration. All right, Farmer Howard is now going to utilize the grass as a majority of the animals' feed. But when he utilizes a majority of the animals' feed, how much of their diet will he supplement with grain? And also, how much does he anticipate that he will make into how much extra gain will he achieve by utilizing that grain? That's the question. So I'm in a situation now where I have plenty of grass, right? I have plenty of grass. The grass is actually growing, right? I have plenty of grass and the grass is actually growing, right? I have plenty of grass and it's growing. So I want to put my animals on grass. I want to feed them a majority of their diet in grass. If I'm feeding them a majority of their diet in grass, I am still going to supplement them with grain. How much grain am I going to supplement them with? And also, you know, what kind of a return am I going to get on that grain? I'm going to feed them 1% of their body weight, right? That's been the answer for forever, right? If I put them on grass and I supplement that grass with grain, I utilize 1% of their body weight as a grain supplement. Usually we're talking about 4, 5, 6 pounds. I'll be feeding about 4, 5, 6 pounds. I have 31 animals back here. I have 31 animals, and I would say that the average weight on these animals is about 500. So how much grain am I, or you know, how much grain am I going to use? About 150 pounds. I'm going to use about 150 pounds of grain a day. When I utilize that 150 pounds of grain a day, when I feed these animals 1% of their body weight a day, additionally with grain, what kind of a return am I going to get? I'll probably end up getting about an extra pound of gain per animal a day. All right, and the grain that I supplement the animals feed with varies. And I got to sell this animal. You know, I got to sell this animal here pretty soon because he always hits me with his head. And I know that he hits me with his head because he wants me to scratch him, but it can't be like that. So I'm going to have to sell this one here pretty soon. But you know, but that's the answer, right? That's the answer that I've been giving. Is it the exact answer? No, it's just a you know, that's just the idea, right? That's just you know, that's more correct information than it is an opinion. All right, I'm giving you the best information that I can. You know, it's not just a flat out opinion. That's, you know, that's effectively the best, you know, the information that I got. So in a situation where I'm feeding a majority of my animals in grass, you know, I'm feeding a majority of the animals' diet in grass. I have to get this. In a situation where I'm feeding the majority of the animals' diet in grass, I will still supplement the animals' diet with about 1% of their body weight in grain. I will give them about 1% of their body weight. That 1% of their body weight of grain a day will add about an extra pound of gain a day. And so I take a look at my animals. I say I have 31 animals back here. I say that the average weight of this herd is about 500 pounds. That's 150,000 pounds. I take the 150,000 pounds and I take 1% of it. That's about 150. That's 150. And when I feed the animals, you know, 150 pounds of grain a day, and I give them the rest of their diet in grass, that 150 pounds of grain a day will put on about an extra pound per animal. That's, you know, that's been the answer for I don't even know how long, right? You know, that's the answer that I've given. You know, is it the exact answer? No, it's not the exact answer. It's just to, you know, give you a rough idea of how, you know, of just what direction and everything, right? Just to put you in the ballpark of how to think about things. Not even how to think about things. It's just to put you know, just to give it a rough idea of the ballpark of how I do things, right? You know, that's just the information that I've given. And so you know, so that's the situation right now. I'm not going to order any feed. There's no reason for me to order feed. Oh yeah, but also I've also decided that another thing that I'm going to do, you know, I've been talking about one thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to stop taking leverage, right? I'm going to stop taking leverage for about 3 or 4 months. I'm going to stop taking leverage. But another thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to continue to liquidate at 650. I'm going to continue to liquidate at 650. And I'm going to continue to run my farm at maximum capacity. You know, I'm just going to reinvest my earnings. And here's the thing, when I reinvest my earnings, oh yeah, and also it's supposed to get very cold for about a day next week. And so I don't know if it's going to kill the grass. And if it does, then I'll have to figure that out. But I may have to liquidate animals next week and actually buy more grain. But you know, I got a lot of things going on right now. You know, what was I I had I was gonna talk about something that I completely forgot what I was gonna talk about. You know, I'm sure I'll remember it here in a minute. But I got grass, so I don't need to feed the animals any grain. I've not ordered any grain. Oh yeah, I'm gonna continue to liquidate my animals at 650, and I'm gonna continue to run my farm at maximum capacity. That effectively means I need to keep my preconditioning pens full with about 8 animals every month, and I'm still gonna continue. I'm not gonna sell 6 animals every month. I'm not going to sell 6 animals any month. I'm going to change that metric to I'm going to liquidate at 650. And so I'll probably end up having to sell more than 6 animals every month. All right, I'll probably end up having to sell more than 6 animals every month. You know, 6 animals every month is you know, I'm going to have to sell more than 6 animals every month. And you know, if I sell 8 and I buy 8, because 8 is, you know, I've decided that 8 animals is about the perfect number for my preconditioning pens. If I have 8 animals in my preconditioning pens, that's kind of perfect. 7 or 8, that's kind of perfect. And so, you know, if I sell 8 animals and I buy 8 animals, I'll also come home with about you know, about $7,000-8,000 cash. All right, you know, I'll probably come home with about $7 grand cash on top of the 8 new animals. I will also come home with about $7,000 cash. Do I really want to come home with $7,000 cash? No, I don't. Do I really want to, you know, no, in all reality, like if I sold 8 animals, I would prefer to buy 15-16 animals. Okay, you know, I would prefer to buy 15-16 animals. I don't, what the heck am I going to do with, you know, but I mean, it is what it is. I mean, you know, I just got to keep the business running, and you know, but I'm gonna liquidate at 650. All right, I'm gonna liquidate at 650. I'm gonna stop taking leverage. All right, I'm gonna liquidate at 650. I'm gonna stop taking leverage. And I think you know, I would anticipate that within about 3 or 4 months, I am actually able to run my business entirely with just my money. I don't have any of the bank's money involved in it. And so this is actually oh yeah, this is what I was going to talk about. It's actually going to be very easy to see exactly how much money I make. All right, you know, like that's actually something that I've been wondering too, because it's like, you know, I got leverage, and then I got the cattle, and then I got, you know, I appraise the cattle, and then I deduct the leverage, and then I, you know, and I have to do all of these things to figure out, you know, and that just gives me a ballpark of how much money I make. But if I don't use any leverage at all of the cattle that I bring home are my money. All of the cattle that I have are my money. I don't have any of the bank's money in it at all. All of the cash is my money too. So I don't, you know, it's very easy to see how much money I have. All right, you know, if I bring home 8 animals and I bring home $8,000 cash, I mean, I brought home about what, about you know, probably about 15-20 grand. Right, because, you know, the whole thing about having you know, animals is that, you know, when you have a commodity asset, I mean, you know, the money is my money. If I really want the money, oh my god, you know, 10,000 cash is not going to be enough, and I need 15, then I can just go and just get more money. I can just liquidate the asset. It doesn't matter to me. All right, so it's going to be very easy to see exactly how much money I make, but it's very difficult to understand how much money I make when I have the bank's money in it. And then I have to consider, oh well, you know, if I lose 1 or 2 animals, and you know, how much am I gonna, you know, and then I appraise my animals, and then I take a look at my debt, and then I take a look at my cash flow, and I'm like, you know, I don't know how much, you know, how much do I owe the bank, and then how much do I get to keep. It's very difficult to understand exactly how much I make. My numbers are very high. Like, you know, when I utilize debt, my numbers are like $30,000-40,000 a month. But I don't know how much of that is going to the bank. I don't. Right, I mean, if I make 30-40,000, I mean, probably 5, 6, 7,000 is going to have to go back to the bank. So realistically, I make 25. But I mean, you know, but that's the thing. It's like, if I utilize a little bit of debt, I can actually increase my profit by about 50%. All right, I'm not even at major risk or anything, but it's going to be very easy to see exactly how much money I make when I don't use any leverage. It will be very easy to see, because all of the cattle will be mine. All of the money that I bring home will be mine. Right, you know, and it just, you know, it'll be very easy to understand exactly how much money I make. But just understand this: when I utilize debt, I actually increase my profits, and I also get a tax benefit. That's why I utilize debt, right? I'll actually make more money if I utilize debt. Now, I'm not saying leverage myself to the eyeballs. I'm saying if I utilize a little bit of debt, right? I have, I have whatever. I have 38 animals and they're all stabilized. Let's say one of them doesn't make it and I have 37. That still leaves me with 37 animals. These 37 animals, I brought home a majority of these animals at about 200 pounds. And I would say that the average weight of my herd right now is probably about 500. All right, so I definitely have, I have a net positive equity evaluation of about 300 pounds per animal. Multiply that by 38. That is my positive net equity. All right, I evaluate that poundage at whatever reasonable estimate that I come up with. Right, I'm not going to pull a number out of the sky. I'm going to come up with a reasonable estimate. And if I have all of this positive equity, when I sell my 8 animals and I make enough money to buy 16, I'm not going to buy 16, I'll buy 24. I'll just take a loan for 8 more animals because I have all of this positive equity. If I really want the money back, I can just go and liquidate the asset and just get my money back. And also, when I do that, it will actually increase my profits and give me a tax benefit. All right, but we're going to be able to see exactly how much money I make, but I mean, just understand this too. When I utilize debt, I actually make more money. All right, and I think that that's important. Just take my numbers and then increase them by about 50%. If I would say 50% is a very reasonable estimate. Take the money that I make and then just increase it by 50%. And if we're gonna take a look at what I got going on, I would say when I sell 6 animals, maybe I make enough money to buy 11. Maybe I make enough money to buy 10. When I sell 8 animals, I'll probably make enough money to buy about 14, 15. All right, and if I don't buy 14, 15, which I'm not gonna buy 14, 15 animals at a time. Realistically, like when I was running my farm with debt, I would actually have to bring home like 8 animals every 2 weeks. I would have to bring home 10 animals every 2 weeks. And I don't want to run my business right now bringing home 10 animals every 2 weeks. That's just it turns into a major headache very quickly. I'm not going to utilize any debt. But even if I don't utilize any debt and I increase the preconditioning times from 2 weeks to a month, I mean, when I sell, I would probably sell 8 animals every month and 7, 8 animals. And when I sell those 7, 8 animals and I liquidate at 650, I'm not gonna say I'm gonna liquidate I'm not gonna liquidate a flat number of animals every month. I'm just gonna liquidate them at 650. And when I liquidate 650, if I liquidated, let's just say I liquidate 8 animals a month. When I liquidate those 8 animals, I'll effectively make enough money to buy 14, 15 cattle. And that is all entirely my money. If I come home with 8 cattle and I come home with $7,000, right, then that's all entirely my money. I don't have to pay the bank anything or nothing. Right, and I'm going to do this effectively until about September or October of this year. And when it starts getting towards the end of the tax season, and I will take my leverage then. I will take the leverage then so I can take my tax deductions. And so I'm going to reinvest the earnings and I'm going to leverage them, and I'm going to get myself a tax deduction for the entirety of the sum. And so, but that it's going to be very easy to see. Right, if I sell 8 animals and I bring home 14, and I make enough money to buy 14, but I bring home $6,000, $7,000 cash, and I bring home 8 animals, that's all entirely my money. That's the money that I made. I don't have any of the bank's money in it at all. But realistically, if I utilize the bank's money, I mean, realistically, my profits actually go up. Even if I don't use any of the bank's money, I probably still make about $14,000 a month. Even if I don't use any of the bank's money, I probably still make about $14,000. All right, it might even be more. I don't know. All right, but it's gonna be very easy to see, how much money I make. But realistically, if I use debt, I actually make more money. I'll actually make more money I'll make a larger net positive sum if I utilize debt. And so, but it'll be very easy. I'm gonna liquidate at 650. I'm not going to liquidate a flat number of animals every month. I'm gonna liquidate at 650. If I see a group of animals at 650, I'm just gonna go ahead and take them to the sale barn. And I would actually anticipate that that about next month, by about next month, well, I'll probably end up liquidating another 3 animals. I got that animal that was hitting me, that's always hitting me with his head. He's about 650, and then I got 2 more animals that are about that size right now. And when I liquidate those 3 animals, I'll make enough money. I got to pay my debt grain back, or my grain debt back, right? I owe money for that grain, and I got to pay that back. And so after I pay that back, I don't really need to buy anything for the entire next month. I don't really need to buy anything. If I need to buy a couple $100 worth of stuff, I mean, it's just whatever, right? I mean, but I don't really need to buy anything. Granted that the frost doesn't kill my grass. If it actually gets very cold and the grass ends up dying, then I'll have to buy some feed for about a week until the grass comes back. But I'm not worried about it. I mean, I'm doing very well for myself financially. I'm not worried about the money. All right, if I need the money, I can just go and get the money. It doesn't matter to me. All right, but I would realistically anticipate that I need to liquidate about 3 more animals by the end of the month. I have a couple of animals. I have 3 animals right now that I'm looking at them, and I'm pretty sure that these animals are getting very close to 650. They may be at about 625, 600, 625. They'll be about 650 here within a week or 2, and then I'm gonna liquidate them. When they get to 650, I'm gonna liquidate. And when I liquidate those 3 animals, I'll probably make enough money to pay for my grain debt, and I'll probably have about $3,000 left over cash. I'll take that $3,000 cash into the next month, and then I'll be probably liquidating another 6 or 7 animals again next month. And I'll have $3,000 cash, and I'll liquidate 6 or 7. I'll buy 8 animals. I'll still probably have about $10,000 cash, right? Even after I buy the 8 animals, I'll still probably have a $7,000, $8,000, $9,000 cash. And so I'm gonna have my 8 animals, and I'm gonna have $8,000, $9,000 cash, $7,000, $8,000, $9,000 cash. All right, and then that's how I'm gonna continue forward. All right, I would, and then whatever, if I go to the bank and I start. And I would anticipate that within about 3 or 4 months, I'm actually utilizing 0 leverage. If I don't use any leverage and I just run my farm without any leverage, I've always said that the idea of leverage is that it just increases the speed, right? I can technically achieve the same thing without using debt if I just utilize, my own money. I can do the same thing without debt. Debt just increases the speed at which I accomplish things. It just increases the pace. It just raises the pace. And so but when I use debt, and this is actually a very good example of what I mean by when I use debt, and it'll increase the pace. But if I use debt, if I leverage my earnings, when I leverage my earnings, when I leverage my earnings 1 for 1, like let's say I go to the sell barn and I sell 4 animals and I make enough money to buy 8. Let's say I go to the sell barn and I sell 4 animals and I make enough money to buy 8. And instead of buying 8, I buy 12. Right? I took my 4 animals worth of positive equity, I leveraged them 1 for 1, and instead of buying 8, I bought 12. When I do that, I actually need to purchase about 10 animals every 2 weeks. And and that's actually a very realistic way to look at it. I need to actually purchase about 10 animals every 2 weeks. But in this situation that I'm in right now with 0 leverage, I will effectively be buying about 8 animals every month. I will be buying about 8 to 10 animals once a month. So it'll legitimately cut the pace in half. But that's going to be the big idea. All right, that's going to be the big idea. I'm going to stop using leverage. I would still anticipate that, I don't really need to buy anything for the entire next month, but I do owe money for my grain. When I take a look at my herd, I would say that about 3 of my animals, 3 of these animals, like that one over there, he's about 650 as well. And so I would say that about 3 of my animals are at about 650. And so I'm going to need to liquidate the 3 animals before the end of the month. And when I liquidate the 3 animals, I'll probably make enough money to buy the grain. I'll make enough money to pay for the grain. And I will also have maybe about $2,000, $2,500 cash left over. All right, I'll have a couple $1,000s left over. So I'll be starting the next month with a couple of $1,000 cash. I'll probably have to liquidate another 6 animals. When I liquidate those 6 animals, I'm gonna buy 8. I'm not gonna buy 12. I'm gonna buy 8. I'm not gonna buy 11. Right? I'm gonna buy 8. And if I sell 6 at 650 and I buy 8, and I also have a cash reserve of about 2 grand, I'll actually end the month with a cash reserve of probably I don't know, somewhere between 7 and 10 grand. But the 8 animals that I buy, it's also going to create what? Positive equity in the herd, right? Like if I was going to think about selling a set number of animals every month, so the number of animals that I sell every month is slowly going to trickle upwards, right? Because if I sell 6 and I buy 8, I came home with 2 more animals than I sold, and I also came home with about, you know, several $1,000s cash. All right, I came home with whatever, $4,000 or $5,000 cash, and I also came home with 8 animals. So the number of animals that I have to liquidate every month is actually going to trickle upwards. My income is actually going to increase every month. If I create a net positive equity of even 1 animal every single month, then that's going to cause my numbers to continuously go up. So I will have to go from liquidating 6 animals. Right, I'll liquidate 6, and then I'll have to liquidate 7, and then I'll have to liquidate 8, and then I'll have to liquidate 9. And also this farm can only run, I can only bring in about 8 calves at the same time in my preconditioning pens. That's also another bottleneck. So ultimately what's going to end up happening is, and I've been talking about this, I'm going to end up sitting on a massive cash reserve. I'm going to be sitting on a massive cash reserve. And the reason that I'm doing that is so that I can effectively get myself ready to leverage myself for a new field. And when I leverage myself for the new field, right, when I leverage myself for the new field, I'm going to, you know, that's when I'm going to leverage for the cattle as well. And I'm going to get my tax deductions. So that's the big idea, right? You know, that's what I got going on. That's what I'm doing. That's the whole big idea shebang, what I'm doing. Right, you know, I'm not going to liquidate at 650. I'm going to I'm not going to liquidate a flat number of animals every month. I'm going to stop thinking about that. I'm going to stop thinking about liquidating 6 animals every month. I'm going to liquidate the animals when they hit 650. All right, and when I take a look at my herd, I would say that about 3 animals are going to be 650 before the end of the month. So I'm going to liquidate these 3 animals, and when I liquidate these 3 animals, I'll effectively make enough money to pay off my grain, and I'll probably come home with about $2,500 cash. Let's say $2,000, $2,500 cash, something like that. I'll come home with about $2,500 cash. So the next month, I will probably have to liquidate another 6 animals. And when I liquidate those 6 animals, and I have a $2,500 cash reserve, I'm going to liquidate the 6 animals, and I'm only going to buy 8. I will still probably come home with about 4 grand. And I will have increased the number of animals that I have on my farm. All right, I'll sell 6, I'll buy 8, and I'll still come home with about $3,000 or $4,000. And I have $2,500 from this month. So that gives me a cash reserve of $6,500. Let's say $5,500, $6,500. All right, if I have a cash reserve of $5,500, $6,500, I could, you know, and then the next month, you know, let's say I liquidate another 6. Right, I liquidate another 6, and the same thing happens. Now I went from having let's say, and then one of the animals dies, but I still increased the number of animals that I have on my field by 1 animal. Eventually, I will increase the number of animals that I have to liquidate every single month from 6 to 7 to 8 to 9 to 10. And then a bottleneck for this whole situation is that my preconditioning pens can only hold 8 animals. So I'll actually end up holding disproportionately more cash. All right, you know, I don't know exactly, and within about 3 or 4 months, all of the money in my farm will just be my money. It will just be my money. I won't have any of the bank's money in it at all. So all of the cattle, 100% of the cattle will belong to me. 100% of the money that I have in my bank account is also going to be mine. That's what's going to happen within about 3 or 4 months. If I, you know, that's the big idea. All right, I'm gonna sell the animals at $650. I'm not going to think about selling a certain number of animals every month. I'm gonna think about selling them at a certain weight. If I sell 6 and I buy 8 and I sell them at $650, I'll still come home with several $1,000s cash. I'll still have several thousands of dollars cash. And but if I go to the sell barn and I sell 6 and I buy 8, and let's say one of them dies and I end up with 7, I still increased the overall size of my herd by 1 animal. right? And if I continue to do that every single month, then it will continuously increase the size of my herd every single month. Effectively, ultimately, what's going to end up happening is that I'm not going to be selling 6 animals every month. I'm going to be selling 7, and then I'm going to be selling 8, and then I'm going to be selling 9, and then I'm going to be selling 10. That's what's going to happen, right? But at the end of the day, my bottleneck is that my preconditioning pens can only hold 8. So anything over 8 animals is just going to be cash going into my pocket. Do I really want to be sitting here with cash? No, I don't want the cash. What am I going to do with that? It's not going to do anything. It's a worthless. I mean, even, it's not going to do anything, okay? The cash is not going to do anything. I would rather have my investments. All right, so that's the whole big idea, right? And it's going to disproportionately, and within 3 or 4 months, I am actually going to pay back all of my debt for the bank. Within 3 or 4 months, it will all be paid off. 100% of the cattle will belong to me, and all of the cash in my bank account will belong to me as well. I won't owe the bank anything or anything. Is that really an optimal situation for me to be in? No, it's not. When I utilize debt, I get tax advantages, and also I make more money. I'm gonna leverage myself at the end of the year. So that's the big idea. That's what I'm gonna do. That's what I figured that I'm gonna do. I want to keep 8 animals in my preconditioning pen every month. I want to precondition. I'm gonna precondition animals for 1 month. I'm not gonna precondition them for 2 weeks. I'm gonna precondition them for 1 month. I'm gonna precondition 8 animals at a time. I'm gonna liquidate animals at 650. The number of animals that I liquidate every single month is actually going to trickle upwards, because if I sell 6 650-pound animals and I buy 8 8 200-pound animals, I will still come home with like an extra $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. All right, cash on top of it, on top of the 8 animals that I brought home, and the 8 animals that I brought home are entirely my money too. I don't owe the bank anything. All right, and so, and then, and let's say out of the 8, let's say 7 survive. I still increase the overall size of my herd by 1 animal. If I continue to do that every month, eventually what's going to happen is that I'm going to have to sell more than 6 animals a month. And ultimately what's going to end up happening is that the bottleneck is going to be the preconditioning facilities, right? The preconditioning facility is I can only hold 8 animals in the preconditioning pens at the same time. So I'll just end up creating disproportionately more cash. That's the big idea, right? I'm going to hold on to the cash position so I can show it to the banker. All right, I'm gonna show it to the banker. I'm gonna show him, hey, I have 0 debt. I have 150,000 cash. I have millions of dollars in collateral, and I'm looking to expand my business. That's the big idea, right? When I told you, the whole idea, when the one person that you actually want to slap in the face with money is the banker. Like if you're gonna go to the bank and you're gonna add, and you're gonna present your deal, slap the banker in the face with money. Present everything. All right, I make $20,000 a month. I make $25,000 a month. I have these assets, right? I have millions of dollars in pristine collateral. My income is $25,000 a month, and I live on $4,000 or $5,000. I have 0 debt on my cattle, and I have 40 animals. I'm looking to grow my business. You show it to the banker, all right? If there is one person in the world that you legitimately slap in the face with money, it is the banker. All right, that is the time to do it. All right, I have 0 leverage on my cattle. I have 40 animals. I make $20,000 a month. I make $25,000 a month. I have millions of dollars in collateral. All right, I'm looking to buy this piece of land. I'm looking for a $3 million loan to buy a piece of land. The owner has already agreed to finance half of it. If you give me $1.5 million, the owner will cover the other $1.5 million. That's how you do it. That is the one time that you actually really want to do it. And I've always said that when you go and present your deal, you need to learn how to effectively communicate like not a poor person, right? Most people probably don't understand this, and it's like but if you're a poor person, you probably communicate like a poor person. You probably do. And that's a vast majority of people. I mean, I've always said that if you want the big idea of how to not communicate like a poor person, how do you communicate like a wealthy individual, a rich person? How do you do that? You talk about your assets and the appreciation of your assets. Right? You talk about your assets. I have zero leverage on my assets. My assets are a commodity. I legitimately just trade commodities on a piece of land. All of this is equitable, and I started my own business. That itself has an equitable evaluation. Right? I mean, you talk about your assets. I have commodity assets. I have a piece of land, and I have a business. My business produces a substantial positive return. I always say you want to talk about the positive return, right? I put $1,500 a month into this thing and I get $15,000 back. I make about $25,000 a month and I live on about 4 or 5. I have zero leverage against my herd and I have 40 animals. All right, I have $100,000 cash in the bank as well, $150,000 cash in the bank as well. Whatever, and then you show it to the banker. And I have millions of dollars in collateral. I have this piece of land. I have a business. I have cattle. I have all of these things. And you show it to the banker, and then you present your deal. And when you present your deal, you make sure that you actually think about your deal. All right, nobody's here to be your friend. Nobody wants to be your friend. I talk about this when it comes to business. I mean, you don't want to be in a situation where it's like, oh my God, well, maybe my life is going to turn into a magical adventure and everything's going to work out for me. You don't want to be like that. You're going to fail. A majority of people just flat out fail, okay? All right, you want to be very specific. I have these assets. All right, these assets have gone up in value by this much. My cash position is this. Right, I have this for collateral. You don't want to show them your Pokemon cards and then talk about your dreams. Nobody cares about your dreams. All right, you show them the money. Slap that banker in the face with money. All right, you legitimately slap that banker in the face with money. I have these assets. I can collateralize these assets, right? I've always said when you collateralize an asset, the big idea is that the asset is equitable, and the asset is equitable because it has value to everybody, not just you. All right, you can collateralize your asset. Right, I mean, when you take a look at it, and then, that's the time you want to make sure that you understand your deal and you present your deal to the banker. You don't want to sit there and go, oh, well, it's been my dream. Oh, well, I want to throw a Hail Mary into the middle of nowhere. Right, this is going to work out for me in a spectacular fashion. I already make the money. Here's the proof of the money. If you take a look at my finances, you're going to understand that I don't have some major problem. I legitimately make like $20,000 a month and I live on $5,000. What am I doing with the money? I'm dumping my money into investments. That's what I'm doing with the money. I'm legitimately putting every dollar back into my farm. And now at this point in time, I actually can't even do that. It's such a massive excess of money that I can't even do that. I would say that my income is, this 10.5 acre field probably makes me somewhere around $20,000 a month. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? Sit here with 200 cattle? Right, and so, you show it to the banker. All right, that's the one time that you do it. And make sure you think about your deal. Nobody cares about your deal, all right? Nobody cares about your dreams. Make sure you think about your deal and make sure you present a proper deal. That's the big thing about the banker. Money talks. All right, you have to understand this. You don't go into the bank and then, try and become the banker's buddy, pow, pow, and then tell them about your dreams and how everything's going to turn into a magical adventure for you. That's not the idea of going to the bank. You present your deal, you slap the banker in the face with money, and then you get your loan. And then you continue forward with that debt. You can actually go and make a positive return. Right, if you give me a loan for $1.5 million, the seller will finance the other $1.5 million. I already make about $20,000 a month. I have 40, pristine asset. I have 40 pristine cattle that are, zero leverage. I make almost, somewhere between $15,000 and $20,000 a month, and I use about 5. Show that to the banker, and then that's the big idea, and then see what the banker says. You want to think about your deal. I already make the money. You more or less want to say that, right? I already make the money. Money talks. It's just a number. It's not an opinion. I probably, I would say that I'm going to average somewhere around $15,000 and $20,000 a month. Within about 3 or 4 months, I will have zero leverage on my herd. All of the animals will entirely belong to me. All of the money in my bank will entirely belong to me. I won't have to pay the bank anything. I have land. It's equitable. My business, I run my own business. I legitimately started my own business. And this is a good example of grass belly right here. You see this animal right here? You see how his belly's all full like that? That's what happens when they eat grass. They swell up like that. But I would say that this animal is going to be about 650 within a couple of weeks. And I really want to sell this animal because he hits me with his head. And that's not good. So, but that's the big idea, the big shebang idea, right? And then, give me a loan so that I can go and purchase a piece of land. And when I purchase the piece of land, I will make the money to pay you back on the land and et cetera, right? And I'm actually going to make a substantial positive return. The whole thing is that, when I move forward with this, my income for the year is actually going to end up closer to $1 million for the year than it is $250. If I sit on and just to put things in perspective, this 10.5 acre field will probably make me about $250,000. I can actually make about somewhere around $200,000 and $250,000 a year on a 10.5 acre field. So I don't know how much money I'm going to make when I buy the $350 or 350 acre field. I don't know how much money I'm going to make, but it's probably going to be a lot. I don't even think about money anymore. All right. I'm being completely serious. And, I was watching this thing and it was talking about money and how money is power. And I was like, I don't see that. I don't see money as power. I don't see money as to me, money is just negligible. I'm just going to be completely honest. Money's negligible. I mean, I generate such a massive excess that I can't use it already. All right, money is, because, I think, I was watching this thing. It's like, oh, money is power and money is, freedom. And I'm like, in a way, it kind of, I guess, but the thing about, I guess in terms of that is that money and in reality, when you, I think that, like, when you legitimately have zero money concerns, it changes your life. And I guess that could feel empowering, right? That could feel empowering. I legitimately have zero money concerns. I'm not worried about money at all. I make a massive excess. I could effectively buy anything on the entire planet. It doesn't matter to me. And if, I guess, like, feeling like that, I guess it's empowering. But the most, to me, money it's borderline negligible. After a certain point, money becomes negligible. All right, because it's like, I generate whatever. I can already buy anything. If I legitimately feel like I need more money, I can just go and run more cattle. It doesn't matter to me. All right, I'm not like, oh my God, more money's it legitimately is borderline negligible. And I think that that's one thing about, making a lot of money. Like, after a certain point, it's like nobody can even offer me anything financially. There is nothing for anybody to offer me financially. I mean, like, legitimately, if someone wanted to talk to, like, if any of you wanted to talk to me about business for 1 hour, I would charge $100,000. All right, because, I mean, to me, 100,000 is like, it's like 4 months worth of pay. I can make 100,000 in 4 months, no problem. All right, and if we're gonna talk business, I mean, and we're actually gonna talk business, then I mean, it's $100,000 an hour. But me, I don't even, the 100 grand is negligible to me already. I don't need it. It doesn't matter to me. All right, I mean, that's like the most sincere way that I can put it. Money is borderline negligible to me. If I legitimately feel like I need more money, I will just run more cattle. It doesn't matter to me. All right, and I don't sit there and go, oh my God, I need more money. I don't think about that. All right, I mean, I take a look at my situation. Oh, well, I'm doing real well for myself and I'm making all this money. What do I realistically want to do with this? What can I realistically do with this money? Well, I'll go and buy myself a big field, and when I go and buy myself a big field, I'll buy more cattle, and That's what I'm going to do. But even if I, ran cattle on a 10.5 acre field for the rest of my life, I mean, the money that I generate on this field is enough money for me to do anything. And, nobody can offer me money. That's the thing about after a certain point. I think that maybe that is empowering, because I think that, like when I look at the average person, if you offer them money, it immediately, it's like, oh my God, now I got to go get this. Now I got to go get this, I got to go fetch this bone, right? That's how they think about money. But me, I don't have that at all. Money does not motivate me at all. I do other things, like I'll run more cattle. That's what I'll do. I'll run more cattle. I'll go and I'll buy myself a bigger piece of land. I'll grow more grass. I don't think about money. Money is negligible to me. That's like the most reasonable way for me to put money. Money is completely negligible. It doesn't matter. After a certain point, it doesn't even matter. And I think that, and maybe to the average person that might feel empowering, or that might feel like you're powerful or whatever. It might feel like it's freeing. But to me, it's just whatever. It legitimately does not, it does not mean it's negligible. To me, it's just negligible. All right, that's like the most realistic way for me to put it. All right, it's like, oh my God, well, money is power, and money is freedom, and to me, money is negligible. And I think that feeling, being able to feel like that, might feel empowering to some people. It might feel freeing to some people, but to me, it's just negligible. If I legitimately am in a situation where I'm like, oh, I should make more money, I'll just run more cattle. It doesn't matter to me. I don't know how else to put it. But that's honestly what my finances look like. Within 3 or 4 months, I will legitimately have zero debt against my herd. I will continue to produce a positive return. I will probably end up sitting on about close to 150,000 cash within and then I'll also have the herd, right? And the herd will entirely be my money. And I don't even know, money is just negligible. I mean, I have millions of dollars worth of collateral, and it doesn't matter. My income is whatever I want it to be. My income is, if I'm legitimately thinking like, oh my God, I need to raise my income, I will just go and run more cattle. It doesn't matter to me. All right, I don't know how else to put it other than money to me is just negligible. It's not power, it's not freedom, it's just negligible. It doesn't matter to me anymore. I'm not gonna say it doesn't matter, because that makes me sound whatever, but it's negligible. Money is negligible. Yeah, and I guess that itself might be empowering, or that might be freeing, but nobody can offer me money. Keep your BS deal to yourself. I don't care about your deal. You could die tomorrow, I wouldn't care. All right, trust me, I don't want anything to do with your deal. All right, it doesn't matter to me. I already make plenty of money. If you want to talk to me about business, it's $100,000 an hour, and there's a 2-hour limit. No, I don't want to be your friend. Okay, I don't care. All right, it does not matter to me. I'm perfectly okay with where I am. And I am looking to do better for myself, right? I'm looking to expand my I'm gonna farm more land, and etc. I'm gonna farm more land. I got an idea of how I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna stop thinking about liquidating a certain number of animals every month. I'm gonna liquidate them at a certain weight. I'm gonna keep my preconditioning pens full, and I would say that's about 8 animals. If I liquidate 6 animals, 7 animals a month, and I only buy 8, I'll still come home with several $1,000s cash, and I'll also be generating a net positive numbers on my herd, and etc., right? And so within 3 or 4 months, I will actually have 0 leverage against my herd, and I will have paid all of my I will have 0 leverage against my herd. When I take a look at the numbers for what it is, and I think about it, oh, well, if I sold 6 animals and I bought 8 animals and I came home with $4,000 or $5,000 cash on top of that, realistically, I mean, if I came home with $3,000 or $4,000 cash on top of that, I mean, and then you got to think about the 8 animals, let's say 7 survive and they go up in value, and, realistically, I make somewhere around $15,000 to $20,000 a month. All right, that you know, and it's gonna steadily go up. All right, but that's it for me today, YouTube. You have a good one.